Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, brought to you by Briar Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. So whether that's auto, homeowners, flood, boaters, or business insurance, there's nobody better in the business to work with than the great people over at Briar Greaves Insurance. For more information about them, visit their website, briargreavesinsurance.com, or you can give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. It is a Tuesday edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Appreciate everybody rolling on in to join us this afternoon. Today, we are going to talk about how will the Bucs fix their secondary. It's not in as much of dire straits as, say, inside linebacker and outside linebacker, but there's certainly some intriguing storylines for this position group at corner and safety going into next season. We'll talk about some coaching staff changes as well, or departures. And of course, anything you want to super chat us too, we're happy to talk about. So let's get into today's show. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is Scott Reynolds of PewterReport.com. What's up, Scott? How we doing?
Doing good. Glad to be with you all again. And I like these topics, Matt. We're talking about fixing the defensive front yesterday when it comes to that's what the Bucs need to really do to become a Super Bowl contender, hopefully sooner rather than later. And then today we're talking more defense in terms of how to fix the secondary. So this is right up my alley. And, there have been times with this organization, with different general managers, different head coaches, where they draft a player with the premium pick, first or second round pick, maybe a third round pick. And they're like, that's our starter. We spent a high draft pick on him and he needs to play. He needs to start. And a lot of times when there isn't competition, it doesn't really work out that well, And my concern is with Benjamin Morrison, they spent a second round draft pick on him, the oft injured Benjamin Morrison, to replace the oft injured Jamel Dean, who will be departing in free agency. I'm very concerned that Tampa Bay is not in pencil putting him on the depth chart and saying, yeah, Benjamin Morrison is going to start opposite Zyon McCollum. We'll have Jacob Parrish in the nickel, in the slot. And that's how we'll roll. And we'll bring in some depth. I think Benjamin Morrison needs some legit competition because of two things. His rookie season was just okay. And I think part of the reason why his rookie season was okay, not bad, not like Vernon Hargrave's rookie season, but not great either. We didn't see any interceptions from him. We saw a couple pass breakups. But when you don't play in any of the preseason games, when you miss a whole month of training camp, as he did with a hamstring injury, man, that just kind of wrecks your rookie season. You're trying to play catch up all season long. Not just on your technique and how to compete with guys, because you have a chance to go against guys like Mike Evans and Emeka Egbuka and practice every day and hone your skills as a cornerback. But then picking up this very complex, intricate defense that is prone to have some coverage busts, right? And I think that when you look at Jacob Parrish, you feel better about his rookie season, because the foundation was laid for him with a very good training camp and preseason. He was healthy and came away with a couple of interceptions, had some ups and downs like all rookies do, but I think he's way further along than Benjamin Morrison is. And I'm not trying to dunk on Benjamin Morrison. I just don't know what to think. But my big concern, Matt, is that Todd Bowles and Jason Light say, well, we drafted him. He's our guy, and we're going to ride with him because Jamel Dean's not coming back. And to me, that can be a recipe for disaster when a head coach and a general manager say, well, we drafted him high in the second round. We got to play him. He's going to be our guy. And you're not making a guy compete for the right to start.
Essentially, if that is the game plan, and of course we can't really forecast what they're going to do in free agency and before the draft, but if that is their plan of, hey, we're just going to go with Benjamin Morrison, they are essentially doing with the corner position what they did with inside linebacker last year.
Yeah, that's right.
we got our two guys right here. Hopefully it's weird to say Zyon McCollum's a veteran player, but hopefully our veteran player is able to get the job done. And then we got another guy that's starting for the first time, and maybe we'll pluck a 30-plus-year-old veteran player as well. I'm not saying that's a recipe for disaster because I'm actually pretty high on Benjamin Morrison if he can fully stay healthy. But they are without a doubt very much teetering on the edge, relying on a corner that was oft injured last season. And I think a lot of people look at, the couple of mistakes that Morrison made last season, the touchdown allowed in Buffalo and the ones in New England as well, because that was compounded upon the fact that it was like one of the couple of snaps that he was in for Jamel Dean. I don't think Benjamin Morrison was as bad as everyone thinks. And I'm not like pounding the table for him and standing up for him. But the Bucs drafted 2 corners last season. Mm-hmm. And there was no doubt which one had the better year. And that was Jacob Parrish. If Jacob Parrish was a couple of inches taller, we're talking about Jacob Parrish starting at outside corner.
That's right.
And what's the competition between Zyon McCollum and Benjamin Morrison going into next season? So, like, if you were to power rank right now, who you feel most confident in going into next season, with the understanding of Jamel Dean is all but gone going into next season, Jacob Parrish is the guy that you feel most confident about right now.
Yeah.
Because currently, the thought process for the Bucs is, and we say this all the time, that it's not a strategy, but hope that Zyon McCollum is able to bounce back and be even better than what he was before last year's debacle. Yeah. Hope that Benjamin Morrison stays healthy and becomes the guy that we all believed he was going to be when he got drafted. And then continue to watch the progression of Jacob Parrish in year 2. That's not the most flawless of strategies at the moment. And with Jamel Dean out the door, likely, it doesn't appear they're going to spend big money on a corner. So you're looking at like another veteran or a Bryce Hall situation and everything like that. So as much as I like Morrison, it's super risky just to be like, he's our guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing, too, there was some news today. Greg Allman kind of deciphered the coaching roster. And no surprise that Kefense Hinson is no longer employed by the team because he was the pass game coordinator, and they hired TJ Yates. They brought in Ken Zampese to help Zach Robinson with the passing game. Both of those coaches were with him last year in Atlanta. But Anthony Pirelli, longtime strength and conditioning coach, apparently has been let go. There's been no official word by the team, but he's not on the team website anymore. And that typically is a tell because they've updated that now. They don't have Brian Picucci on there either. And I looked the other day and I saw Kefense Hinson was on there as well as Brian Picucci. And I just thought, well, they haven't upgraded this yet. They haven't updated it because they didn't have a picture of Marcus West in there either, who was the defensive line hire. So, that's some interesting news. Mike Evans gave a shout out to AP, as they call him, over at One Buccaneer Place. And, he helped a lot of players get better and stronger. But I just wonder if there's some evidence behind what he was doing that led them to make this move and say all these soft tissue injuries, the calf injuries, to Kalijah Cansey, the pectoral injury, the hamstring injuries to Morrison and Mike Evans, can they be blamed on the strength and conditioning staff? Are they not getting these athletes prepared enough? Are they fluky type of injuries? Or, is AP just the fall guy, right? I don't know, right? Because you have to go back to that 2023 season. Anthony Pirelli was the strength and conditioning coach, right? Bobby Slater was the head trainer. He's in charge of rehab and getting these guys to recover from injuries. AP is in charge of preventing those injuries by making sure that the team is in shape. And both of those guys were a part of an incredibly healthy roster in 2023. One of the healthiest rosters I've ever seen. These last 2 years have just been a disaster, right? There are some often injured players on the team. Jamel Dean's one of them. We're talking about him. But there's just been a slew of injuries. And I'm just guessing, assuming, I haven't talked to anybody in the building about this, but I don't know if they've just kind of come to a conclusion, or they just said we just need a change for the sake of change and hope that the next person's better. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's interesting because Bull said like they're going to look at everything, and he said before, well, like we did this all last year and nobody got injured, and then this year everybody got injured, or 2 seasons ago, and then the
Yeah,
following 2 seasons. But Anthony Paroli's been there for a long time. He was with the Bucs for 7 seasons,
yeah,
won a Super Bowl
that's
with
right.
this team. I think famously people love the bench row records with Tristan Wirfs
Yeah,
and Luke Gedeke, who pretty much live in the gym, and so he helped
yeah,
develop and strengthen a lot of the superstars on this
yeah,
Bucks team. So I don't know. I find it people. I mean, we saw it in the chat like during the season. People
yeah,
were blaming the strength and conditioning coach, and I think there's a little bit of validity to it. I'm not going to
yeah,
completely just throw it out the window. I just feel like football is such a it's a physical contact game where you're
yeah.
running into someone on every single play.
Right,
So many injuries are so freakish and fluky, and not all injuries are the same anyway. Like, is
right.
it the strength and conditioning's coach fault when a concussion happens,
Yeah,
or a broken ankle, or
hmm
like a knee injury? Like, I don't know. Like soft tissue for sure. I
yeah,
think that can be examined a little bit more, and maybe the Bucks just feel like, all right, we need to let's just wipe the slate clean because we're doing it at all the other
yeah.
spots on the coaching staff. Let's
Except
just
for the
do
head coach.
strength
Yeah,
and conditioning as well. Yeah, except for
yeah,
the the head coach. And then with Kefense Hinson, I mean, I think we all knew this was coming. The
yeah,
writing was on the wall once, Josh Broussard brought him in. Josh Broussard's not here anymore.
yeah,
Zach Robinson's bringing in everyone else. So that one makes sense. Hopefully, both of these men can find opportunities somewhere else. But,
yeah.
the coaching changes keep coming for Tampa Bay.
They do. A lot of staff changes. There might be some more coming down the pike too. Remember, we talked about this. Justin Peele was a late ad. I think it was
Yes.
after OTAs when Liam Cohen just said, John Van Dam maybe doesn't have the technical expertise to coach the tight end position like the way I want it. And they went out and they got Justin Peele. So, not saying that there won't be any more coaching changes, or there will, but just hang on. This is an off season to change here in Tampa for sure. One of the things that I kind of want to just bring up though is, me being an old timer starting back in 1995 covering this team, I don't remember the amount of injuries, and I started in Sam Weich's last season, 1995, right? Tony Dungy came in 1996, and I know there were injuries, right? I remember Horace Copeland blew out his knee in training camp practice one year. There are some of those type of injuries, but in terms of like the soft tissue injuries, the hamstrings, and all this, I mean, you know, this is Florida. It hadn't
Yeah.
changed a whole bunch. It's hot and humid. It's been hot and humid for 31 years since I've been down here. I mean, it hasn't changed. Um, I mean, this is like one of the colder winters that I've been a part of down here. But I mean, that's weather for you. It's going to change. It doesn't stay the same. But it kind of does in the summer and in football season. I mean, it's hot in Florida through November sometimes. I mean, there's some December games where it's quite warm. It just depends on the cold fronts and all that. But I just don't remember. And this is like back with two-a-day practices. This is back when, I mean, you had like mini camps in the off season that were physical. They weren't like, oh, you can't touch the guy.
Mhm.
The NFLPA rules. You got to play, patty cake with the guys and two-hand touch. I mean, there were some competitive off-season workouts in terms of on the football field, right? And again, two-a-day practices. And I feel like this NFL collective bargaining agreement where they have, given the players all this time off, and they basically turned off-season, OTAs into flag football, and training camp is like, oh, we got to get everybody, to the season. We can't have injuries in training camp. I think it's a detriment. I think it's softening players up physically,
Mhm.
and then with all of the walkthroughs because of injuries, right? Todd Bowles has had. To me, it just kind of, I think it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't practice hard, you're going to get out there and you're going to get injured. And I think there's something to that. I've talked to too many older players, the Rondé Barbers, the Tony Mayberries. I've had conversations with guys back in the day, Derek Brooks, that just they look at it and say, "Man, we didn't get injured like this," you know.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think part of this is, and listening a little bit to what Mike McDonald was talking about with the Seahawks. The Seahawks play fast. They play really, really fast on defense, right? That's all we've heard since they destroyed the Patriots on Sunday night. This is a fast defense. They fly around and they're physical and they know what's going on and all this. And I think there's two parts to that, Matt. Number one, there's the mental part. Mike McDonald's secondary with Devin Witherspoon blitzing, you know, and Nick Amonwari, you know, playing his role as kind of like that nickel rover. And, you know, the perimeter players, Reek Woolen and all that, they play really fast because they kind of have a simple scheme. And it's more multiple than the old Tampa too with Monty Kiffin. But it allows you to play fast when the playbook is kind of thinned down. We're just going to focus on doing this and do it exceptionally well.
Mhm.
And they play fast as a result. The other part of it is, from what I gather, the Seahawks really go at it in practice, right? And it's like there's the muscle memory part of this too. And it's like, remember that pass that for a touchdown in the Dolphins game where Tykee Smith was just really out of position, just kind of got smoked. I just don't think this team practices hard enough during the season, and I think they're so shell shocked about, oh gosh, we can't have, you know, players get injured in practice. Okay, fine, you're giving up touchdowns because those guys aren't going full speed in practice, and guess what? Two things. Number one, they're not getting to their landmarks in time, right? Jamel Dean is making some veteran, you know, / rookie mistakes by you know not staying in front of Ted McMillan in Carolina for the touchdown.
Mhm.
Then the other thing, Matt, is if you go out there and you kind of, and I don't want to say half-ass it, but when you don't practice at full speed and you're not super competitive on Wednesday because you're doing walkthroughs, Thursday and Friday, but you're expected to go full speed on Sunday, what's going to happen? You're going to pull a hamstring, right? You're going to have some, you know, you're going to twist an ankle and stuff because you're not used to going full speed and having competitive practices, but yet you're expected to do that on Sunday and play at the level that you need to from a physical and mental standpoint. I don't know, man. I hope Todd Bowles really re-examines his whole practice schedule because I just saw Tony Dungy and, you know, John Gruden, two really good coaches, two most winning coaches in franchise history. They had hard competitive practices all the time, and they had really good defenses. Just
it's a great point. And to what you were saying about the Seahawks too, I mean, one of the biggest storylines leading up to the game was Amonwari got hurt in practice. So like that kind of proves that
that's right.
They were high flying in practice, and thankfully
Yeah.
he was able to play. And obviously we all saw what they did from a defensive standpoint in winning the Super Bowl. The Bucs need to essentially adapt that of going hard in practice. But as we know, Todd Bowles, you know, all he does is walkthrough after walkthrough after walkthrough. So I think what's happened is these walkthrough practices, it's essentially like in a game when you play prevent defense.
Yeah.
Because what do they say? When you play prevent defense, you're just preventing yourself from winning.
That's right.
The Bucs have essentially the prevent defense version of what they do in practice with everybody walking around and not doing what they need to do from a rep by rep type of basis. This is just like a theory of mine, but what I think it ultimately comes down to are a couple of things, but the main one being it's the fear of getting injured. It's the fear of, something could go wrong because, you know, there are the Ryan Jensen situations and other players getting injured and then they're out for the year or they miss a majority of the year. And that's a tough thing to happen before you've even taken one snap in the regular season. But if you play not to get injured, I think it's really significantly impacted.
Yeah.
Not just the Bucs, but many teams' performances in the NFL. Some people say the season doesn't even really start until October because the first 4 games in September, sometimes 5, depending on the schedule, it's all teams just kind of like working out everything that they, 15 years ago were working out in the preseason and even training camp before that. And I think a part of the other issue is is because, with technology and everything like that, everybody now is bigger, faster, stronger.
Mhm.
The players, even with the Sapps and the Brooks, are not physically up to comparison the way that we see players right now.
Yeah.
So what happens then is everybody needs to be the top guy. You're training differently, but you're training with even more weight and you're putting more pressure on you. And that kind of leads to other injuries as well. You need to build up a callus. You need to crave contact. And listen, if everybody's dropping like flies in training camp, you can adjust it.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's football. You got to be physical. You got to play with no fear. You're not going to tackle 4 times a week in a practice, but it's clear that they cannot just do the walkthroughs. I mean, Yaya Diaby was pretty vocal about not being a fan of all these walkthroughs, and I think it directly, not partially, directly impacted a lot of the issues on this team.
I agree. And he wasn't the only one. I talked to several players that day when they were clearing out their locker rooms. He's the only one that wanted to go on the record, though, so I respected that. But there were other players that did, and we'll maybe talk to some of those, people in the offseason here. But this guy right here, he won a Super Bowl in Tampa. And last time I checked, he's still the all-time winningest coach in Tampa Bay. I have a lot of respect.
That's John Gruden for those listening to the audio version.
Up there. Thank you very much, Matt. Yep. That is John Gruden, And one of my favorite John Gruden quotes of all time is, "You got to live in your hopes and not your fears, man." And it's like, that's true, man. You can't play football scared. You can't. You sign up for this. It is a physical, not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. Okay. And it happens. And you know what? In my illustrious 6-year Pop Warner coaching career, we had our share of players get hurt. You know when they got hurt? They got hurt in practice. I can't remember. I can't remember one of the kids on our team getting seriously hurt in a game. I just don't remember that. In practice, we had concussions. We had a kid with a broken arm. Yeah, we practiced hard. That just comes with the territory. But you can't live in this fear state of, oh gosh, if we have a hard practice, we might, lose this player for Sunday. Okay, well, what happens if they're not physically prepared to go out there and they pull their hamstring in the first quarter? How many times did we see Jamel Dean get hurt?
Yeah.
He got hurt the second play of the game in Buffalo, right? So he was out for the whole game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, I don't know, man. So maybe there is something to, them revamping their whole practice and training camp and off season, strength and conditioning. Maybe my hope is that Todd Bowles has kind of seen the light, or somebody's talked to him, or maybe he's had a real eureka moment and said, you know what, we got to be physical, and we need to have a hard, fast, physical football team. We're going to practice harder. We're going to train harder. And we are going to, and I love the term that you said, Matt, because I've heard it from Tony Mayberry. We have to callous our bodies to get ready for the season. And that's how you can prevent some injuries, by hardening yourself to the rigors of the sport. And it's hard in Tampa, man. It's hot. It's humid. Hydration's a real thing. They got to do something. So we'll see.
I think what it comes down to is let's say this year's Bucs team is, similar style of defense of you're allowing big plays. You're not what you once were with Todd Bowles. But what if you were more physical, and that physicality led to one extra turnover or one more stop? Would you rather have a physical defense or a finesse defense?
Physical, please.
I want
Amen.
a physical defense. I want. Fine, you're gonna make some mistakes. Fine. I'd rather have a defense that the offense that they're going against the night before is losing sleep because they are bracing themselves for an absolute battle.
Yeah.
Both mentally and physically, going up against Tampa Bay's defense. They had physicality back in the day. Yeah. They don't have it anymore. Logan Hall was not physical.
Yeah.
Vita Vea certainly was physical, but it's not as easy when you don't have Kalijah Cansey.
Right.
Hassan Reddick, not physical.
Correct.
Yaya can be physical.
Yep.
Strasay Dennis, not physical.
Yeah.
The safeties, I think to a degree were physical, but
yeah,
not physical enough as an entire unit.
Yeah.
Whether that's safety, whether that's defensive tackle. This team does not. There are a handful of teams across the league where I go, oh, man, don't want to play that defense. Or oh, man, my quarterback's playing against this defense in fantasy football. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I haven't felt that way about the Bucs in 2 years. Definitely not the last 2 years.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe,
I'd say
yeah.
2021 really was the year that you look back and you're like, okay, that was,
Yeah.
that was probably the last time. And of course, they had Ndamukong Suh, JPP, they had Shaq. Those were some guys still, I don't want to say in their prime, but like still on the team, still starters, still playing well. And they had a physical presence to them. But, this team needs to get physical toughness and durability. Those are some things that this team really has to work on for sure. And, we'll see if that's the case. One thing I know for sure is if you are looking for some legal help, we got some tough people to talk to you about. They're really nice guys, Grady and Spencer Jorgensen, but I'm sure in the courtroom, the dogs, and that's what you want. You want somebody to be your champion in the courtroom, and that's exactly what you're going to find at Jorgensen Law Office.
Welcome to Jorgensen Law PA, where our family's legacy drives us to fight for your rights. Specializing in personal injury, workers' compensation, and Social Security, we're committed to winning for you. No fees unless we succeed. Trust in our family to help yours. Let's achieve justice together.
That's right. They're the champions of the injured and disabled. St. Petersburg, Florida is where their office is. They serve the entire Tampa Bay area. So give them a call and get a free case evaluation. And I love this part, no fees until they win. You love the confidence that the Jorgensen Law Office attorneys have. And you can find them on the web at jorgensenlawoffice.com, or you can call Jorgensen Law PA at 727-347-7733. They can help you in the areas of Social Security, workers' comp, or personal injury.
Speaking of that injury, though, I know we already kind of talked about Benjamin Morrison and Zyon McCollum, but I don't know. I'm not too confident that they can stay healthy for an entire season. So that's where the whole balancing act of like, yeah, you want to be physical, you need to practice tough and everything like that. But knowing the history of these guys, now Zion's had some kind of like freak injuries. I want to say, like, what, he break his hand last
thumb
season?
Injuries. Yeah, he's had surgery on his thumbs.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess let me ask you this: so who do you have more confidence in going into this upcoming season to kind of, I guess, bounce back? Even though Morrison, it's only his second year, Morrison or Zyon McCollum? Like, who do you feel a little bit better about going into this one?
I'm going to have to say friend of the program, Zyon McCollum, just because I think he wants to be great. But I've heard that from a lot of players. I remember Trent Dilfer always used to say that, like, I want to be great. I think I'm going to be great. I'm going to be great one day. And, he just wasn't that guy. With Zyon, my hope is that the new cornerbacks coach, who's really a familiar face to Zyon, Rashad Johnson, can unlock him a little bit, right? And I use that word because Herm Edwards, as good of a coach as he was, and he was a very good defensive backs coach. He was an outstanding cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles. He had the miracle at the Meadowlands, the scoop and score, when Joe Pisarcik fumbled the ball, and that was one of those memorable NFL plays. But he was, good cornerback on a Super Bowl team in Philadelphia. Didn't win it, but part of that 1980 squad with Ron Jaworski and Wilbur Montgomery and Harold Carmichael. Then, of course, went on to become a head coach at New York Jets, Arizona State Sun Devils, and, of course, was the secondary coach here in Tampa Bay, Tony Dungy's assistant head coach. But he just couldn't reach Rondé Barber, right? It was just kind of a disconnect there. Rondé had a terrible rookie season, like only played in 2 games. And they drafted Brian Kelly the next year in the second round because they thought Rondé was a bust the previous year in the third round. But then after Mike Tomlin got to, and Rondé was showing some progress. He was, he was a starter and all of that. But when Mike Tomlin arrived in 2001, that's really where Rondé Barber's game just took over, and he just became Rondé Barber, And the hope is that Rashad Johnson can run the room better, more effectively, with more energy, more juice than Kevin Ross could, and there's a 20-year difference, almost 25-year difference between those two gentlemen. And I was talking with somebody today via text in the building, and I said, what do you like about these new coaches? And the word was energy. And I
Mm.
love hearing that. Marcus West bringing energy as a 40-something, was it 41, 42-year-old defensive line coach. Rashad Johnson, a 40-year-old cornerbacks coach. I'm not sure how old Tim Atkins is. He's in his 40s. He's the new safeties coach. But, both of these guys, none of them are going to tell Todd Bowles, what to do. They're not going to bring any new ideas to the table. This is going to be Bowles' defense, and it's going to be sink or swim in 2026. And I accept that, and I don't care about that. If Bowles thinks he has all the answers, so be it, and I hope he does, for his sake and for this team's sake. But, Matt, I want to see the player development.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Rashad Johnson do for Zyon McCollum what Mike Tomlin was able to do for Brian Kelly, take his game to the next level, and do for Benjamin Morrison what Tomlin was able to do for Brian Kelly, take it to the next level, and develop him. And same with Jacob Parrish. The thing with Rashad Johnson I really like is the fact that he has worked with 3 consecutive nickels, 3 consecutive rookies in the last 3 years. Christian Izzian back in 2020, what, 3?
Yeah.
2024 was Tykee Smith. 2025 was Jacob Parrish. I think that those nickels played pretty well as rookies. And Rashad Johnson gets a lot of credit for that because he was the guy in charge of the nickels in that cornerback room.
And Jacob Parrish did so much for this team, too. 2 interceptions on the season. That was tied for second on the team. He was able to blitz as well and get to the quarterback. Had a big moment in that game against the New York Jets, the home opener for the Bucs in their 1976 throwback uniforms.
Yeah.
He's the type of dude. And I saw someone I forgot which podcast it was, but it was a recent podcast. And they commented after the show, which we appreciate because we always tell you guys to do that, guys and gals. And they were saying that Jacob Parrish has that pit bull, that old school type of mentality.
Yeah.
And I absolutely agree with that because Jacob Parrish is the type of dude that doesn't really want to talk about the game. He just wants to study and prepare for the game. You're not going to see him in front of the microphone or the camera that much unless he's often requested by the Bucs PR staff to go speak to the media and stuff like that. He's all business, and I really appreciate and respect that. Zyon, I would feel good about kind of bouncing back this season because we've seen him fall and then get back up before.
Yeah.
I mean, his rookie year, obviously not a lot to be desired, a lot of missed tackles. Then his second year, I mean, you want to talk about getting a crash course of playing both sides of the field at corner, kind of subbing in for different guys. So that proof is there. And I agree with everything you said about just having new coaches in or, new guys in charge coming in and getting the best out of them. And that's why Morrison, I would be super optimistic. Now, all of this leans on him being healthy in training camp. But we've yet to see what Benjamin Morrison can fully be if he's there for minicamp, OTAs, training camp, preseason, and hopefully all 17 games of the regular season, but hopefully a majority of it. If he gets the playbook down, they adjust practice a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think his ceiling is higher than all the other people that we have talked about. Now, a lot of it is on him. He's got to stay healthy. But a full year of actual practice schedule, not starting and stopping, starting and stopping, and being fundamentally sound and playing in every single game or playing in every single week, I think that'll do wonders for Benjamin Morrison. So I think the correct pick is probably Zyon McCollum, but as far as drafting stars, as we've talked about on the show, I think Morrison can certainly be one.
Here's what I find really interesting about the cornerback position is it's secondary, pun intended, because there's so many resources that have to be put on the front seven that as much as I want there to be another cornerback drafted, maybe in the second or third round, to come in and not just compete with Benjamin Morrison, but provide depth. And what happens if Zyon McCollum just spirals and has another bad year? You need somebody to challenge him too, even though he's the money man right now. We've seen this team make some very financial decisions with regards to Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean. You make too much money, you hurt too much, you're not making enough plays, you're out, right? And that's fine. But this team only has 7 draft picks. This team only has X amount of salary cap room. They don't have a lot this year. They really don't. They if you want Mike Evans back, okay, it's going to cost what, 21, 22, 25
That's
million
what Michael be
dollars.
asking for. Yeah.
I mean, this team has about $24 million in cap room right now. And as much as you want to think, oh, they can create more cap room, they can extend Baker Mayfield. What if Baker Mayfield doesn't want to be extended right now? What if he wants to play on his final year, which he's got $40 million coming to him this year? And what if he says, I'm good right now. I want to see if I can get back to 41 touchdowns and 4,500 yards with Liam Cohen, because then I'm not going to be making $50 million with my next paycheck. I'm going to be making north of 60. And if you don't believe me, folks, I've talked to enough NFL insiders this week that's where the next quarterback market is. Dak Prescott is going to be leapfrogged and leapt over. So, so you can't extend him. You can go to Tristan and extend him. Restructure him. You can restructure Winfield. I do not think this team wants to restructure Chris Godwin. He's making $22 million in the books this year. That's going to be a static number because they don't know what Chris Godwin they're going to get in 2026. They're going to get a 800 to 1,000 yard Chris Godwin, or are they going to get a 500 to 700 yard Chris Godwin? So they don't want to touch Vita Vea's contract right now. He's 31, right? They don't want to sit there and extend him, and all of a sudden, he goes from 7 sacks to 4.5 to what if he has 2 this year? What if he gets hurt? So they're in a little bit of a pickle here. There's not a lot of deals. You can go to Gedeke. You just did him. You can go to Tristan. There's a couple guys you can do that to, but the 3 guys, and it's interesting because if you go look at Buccaneers.com, their roster right now, they've switched over their graphics. There's only 3 guys they have on the roster, like the little marquee. It's Baker, it's Chris Godwin, and Vita Vea. My first thought was, wow, those are 3 guys that are essentially in contract years this year.
Yeah.
There's no Bucky, there's no Yaya. It's those 3 guys, and they've got some really, really big cap numbers this year. So I just wonder what they're going to do. Now, here's the X factor in all of this, right? There was a player that we were incredibly high on, and you got some incredible video. You witnessed it, and you got it on video. J.J. Roberts made one of the best interceptions I've ever seen any NFL player make, and it happened right here in a Bucs joint practice last year. He was competing neck and neck with Jacob Parrish last year, and you were there, Matt, in Pittsburgh when he tore his ACL, unfortunately, and it cost him his rookie season.
Yeah, I was there for the best moment of his early NFL career, that interception, and unfortunately, I was there for the worst moment of his NFL career thus far with that injury in Pittsburgh, and it happened on a special teams play, as well. And J.J. Roberts, I mean, we just talked about Parrish being all about business. J.J. Roberts was very much the same because let's remember, yes, he was an undrafted free agent. You come in with a chip on your shoulder. But J.J. Roberts, I mean, Pewter Report was giving him attention. Yeah. But everyone else, they were talking about another undrafted free agent safety, and that was Shiloh Sanders. And
that's right.
We all know the pomp and circumstance that comes with that. But J.J. Roberts, legitimately,
he's legit.
I think could have cracked the the starting lineup for this team.
I agree.
If other injuries or things were to occur. Now, it is tough to kind of bank on him for this next season because you never know when you're coming off of injury and serious situations like that. But they're going to have a couple of more pieces to work with. And, to your point with all the contracts, that's what happens when you re-sign all of your players when you've been playing well for a very long time. Yeah. It's very difficult to
top heavy
to everyone. It's super top heavy. And the problem is, while, yes, in a perfect world, it would be great to have an extra corner that they can draft or another safety that they can draft to have someone behind Winfield and Smith and then presumably, Roberts or whatever the case may be. I mean, getting a third string cornerback is not as important as legitimately finding 2 starting inside linebackers and starting outside linebackers. That's the situation that the Bucs are in. That priority is much more important than drafting another corner. So at best, you're looking at probably a day 3 type of situation, depending on how the board falls and everything like that. But I would love to see J.J. Roberts just immediately bounce back to what he was, because that changes the game for Tampa Bay.
He's a player,
a free agent as well, so it's no guarantee that Isian's back. So
that's right.
What can Roberts bring you with not just being a backup safety, but playing in that nickel with,
Yeah.
you have Parrish, but you need someone to back up for depth purposes as well.
That's right. And when you've got, Christian Zyon, who is a restricted free agent, well, he was an undrafted guy, so you're certainly not going to tender him as a first or second round pick, and there was no original round compensation there. So
Yeah.
I think the numbers around $3.547 million is the estimated number for a 1-year tender for Christian Zyon, and he's a very versatile guy. Todd Bowles loves him. Jason Light loves him. I mean, he's a guy that can play nickel, either safety spot. He can play cornerback in a pinch. This was a game where he stepped in at cornerback at the very end of the Commanders game in week 1 because of all the injuries. You'd love to have him back. They'll probably try to agree to terms with a kind of meet you in the middle deal. It's somewhere between 2 to 3 million rather than 3.5 million. And then have maybe a 1 or 2 year deal. You'd like to have Christian Zyon back, but with JJ Roberts, what that can do is that can unlock Jacob Parrish, because again, if JJ Roberts was battling Jacob Parrish in the preseason neck and neck, which they were, Roberts could be in a situation where he becomes the nickel if Morrison gets hurt, if Zyon McCollum gets hurt, and they have to move Parrish back outside. Then what you say is we have a cornerback who got some outside experience last year. It wasn't his best position, but he played that at Kansas State. And maybe we'll cross-train him between nickel and outside corner in training camp as J.J. Roberts comes back to health, and we'll play him at nickel and safety. And, that's a little bit like a bonus draft pick, because he was a player they were really high on. I was told he was going to make the 53. And like you said, Matt, he probably would have started some games last year with the injuries that happened in the secondary. So, when you don't have but 7 draft picks, and as you mentioned, you need at least 2 inside linebackers, you need at least 1 more edge rusher, probably another defensive tackle. You probably should draft another offensive guard to throw in the mix for depth. There goes your draft picks. And where are you going to draft a corner? Probably on day 3. But if you can make the players on your roster work, and this team has gotten a little bit more flexible with J.J. Roberts being able to play nickel and safety, and Parrish being able to play nickel and outside corner, I think it kind of helps them out this year. Not to say that they're done. I don't see Kendall Vildor coming back. They'll probably look for another cheap free agent signing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe if this team finds some answers in free agency, and if a dynamite corner is there in round 2 or round 3, they pull the trigger. That has been a position that Jason Light has drafted an awful lot of on day 2 is cornerbacks.
I think we've learned when Jason drafted, and the Bucs drafted Emeka Egbuka in the first round when everyone thought they were going to go defense. I think that shows that like everything is on the table for this team, and they truly do just go by like their own draft board and seeing what they like, what they don't like, and everything like that.
Yeah.
I want to be on the record too. Like Jacob Parrish, I'm fine with him playing outside corner. It's just again the size wise.
Yep.
If you have all 3, you're probably not
he's
putting
limited.
him outside. Yeah. But I had no issues with him playing outside corner when he had to in those certain situations. Yeah. So if they want to use him or Roberts, obviously either in nickel or just some type of like different type of role where you give them some opportunities. Maybe they're blitzing, maybe they're on the field at the same time for whatever reason. I'm for it. I got a lot of fandom in Jacob Parrish based on what he did last season, and I think he'll continue and be even better this season.
I am too. I'm excited to see what he can do in year 2. A very confident player and kind of unflappable too. I love the confidence that he has. I also like the confidence of some of these Olympic athletes that I'm watching. And we're about to see some hockey as well. I'm excited to see how the U.S. and how some of the Lightning players do for Canada and some of the different teams that they're playing for. But whether it is hockey or whether it is the rest of the winter sports, the big screens, the gold medal energy, watch the winter games at Walk-Ons. 3 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you: Wesley Chapel, Midtown Tampa, and Lakeland. Matt, I think you're going to agree with me. There's not a bad seat in the house. You can be at the bar. You can be tucked over in the corner. There are so many damn TVs at Walk-Ons that you will find every sporting event and game that you want there, and there's just not a bad seat in the house. And the food's pretty good too. You know, I mean, they've got tremendous happy hour. And by the way, it's going on all day today. We told you about it yesterday. All day happy hour plus $5 Tito's. So get over there. Maybe get some of those $8 boneless wings or cheeseburger sliders. I love the spinach and artichoke dip for $7. That's a steal. We had somebody yesterday in the chat ask us, and I forgot to put it up. Hush puppies or onion rings for $4, Matt? Which way you going?
I don't have hush puppies a ton, so I'd say onion rings. But really, there is no wrong answer. But yeah, I have to go onion rings. What about
you know what? I love the onion rings there. I mean, the hush puppies are good. Don't get me wrong, but the onion rings are spectacular.
Yeah.
But no matter what you get, you're going to eat like a winner and drink like a champ during that happy hour, pretty much any day when you're walk-ons watching sports.
Got a couple super chats that we can get to. We'll start it off with Zap Brannigan. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat. Says Antoine Winfield Jr. strong safety, Roberts free safety, Smith nickel, interesting.
Okay.
Rotate Benjamin Morrison, Zyon, and Parrish till they're a clear 1-2-3 nickel base, swap nickel and free safety for different looks as needed.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have, I don't want to say enough pieces, but they have a good starter set. Could they use another cornerback? Absolutely. Would I love to see another starting caliber corner come into the mix so there's not a drop-off if there's injury or ineffectiveness? Absolutely. But the return of J.J. Roberts, I think, is hopeful. Again, hope is not a strategy, but but you have that player on your roster, and he showed what he could do before the injury. He's a young player, ACL. You see those players tend to bounce back. I mean, the ACL is not what it used to be. It is an injury that you can recover from in 6 to 9 months. He should be ready to go for training camp, if not the offseason program. But I think there's enough to work with here, Matt. And whether it's Rashad Johnson, whether it is Tim Atkins, who worked with the safeties last year. Again, my hope is these guys aren't going to come in and they're not going to challenge Todd Bowles or bring new ideas to the table. I don't care about that. Develop your room. Develop the guys in your room. Make those players better. And if they can do that, and then if there is a cavalry coming this offseason up front in the front seven where they get better pass rushers, they get better linebackers, especially in coverage across the middle, then maybe your secondary makes more plays.
Yeah, I think from a depth standpoint at corner, I'm okay with it. I would love like another veteran in there, like a veteran upgrade over Kindle Vildor, who can be there as a mentor to some of the younger guys, but Parrish and BMO, but then could also potentially start if necessary, because as we know with this team, and who knows now that they're going to have a new strength and conditioning coach, maybe that changes. But the problem is like you had so many games where Kindle Vildor was starting or having to play, and then the season before Tyreek Funderburg, was starting a number of games, and it's difficult for any team when you're down to your sixth corner to kind of go in and start. But now that you have the rotation of whoever's starting outside, whether it's Zyon and Morrison, whether it's Jacob Parrish, like you kind of have that overall rotation that you can find. I would be slightly more concerned about the depth at safety. You got a great 1-2 punch with Winfield and Tykee, but Roberts has not played an NFL game, our regular season snap. So that to me would be more of my like, hey, we need to address this first before anything else in terms of the depth standpoint.
Yeah,
but overall, I like the idea.
I'm with you. I think there's enough to work with here, and if it can be developed, and I don't think that. I'm just sorry, Kevin Ross and Nick Rapone. I've just heard stuff that they just didn't do a good job, and they deserve to be fired. And I don't see anybody lose their job. But if you're not doing your job, time to move on. It happens. This is it's that type of business. It is a results-oriented business in the NFL. Process is great, but if the process doesn't lead to results, you're gone. And I'm curious to see what younger guys that are familiar with the scheme. I think that helps. You're not bringing in new secondary coaches that don't know what Todd Bowles wants to do. These guys know what Todd Bowles wants to do. They can communicate it to the players, and hopefully more effectively than than they received from Ross and Rapone. I still don't know what the appeal is with George Edwards. I still don't know why. I mean, I do know why. Bowles loves him. He's the old savvy defensive coordinator. He's spent 9 years in the league, being a defensive coordinator. He's the old hat that Bowles can kind of bounce ideas off of when he wants. I think Bowles respects that experience. But I mean, he was the pass game coordinator last year. He didn't do anything at outside linebacker with that room. He got replaced by Larry Foote. Bowles said, all right, you're not going to be a position coach. Just want you to help the secondary out. And we still saw the coverage busts. We still saw, the lack of player development. I don't know what this team, or I shouldn't say this team, what Todd Bowles sees in George Edwards. But I don't think he's a plus. I don't think that he necessarily does much to really benefit the secondary, but maybe these position coaches can have more of an impact. We'll see.
Kind of over the whole co-defensive coordinator thing as well. Like,
I am too. Yeah.
Give me one coach that we're going to speak to each week.
Yeah.
I don't like that it's, I mean, partially it's just because Larry Foote's way more of a fun interview than
Give me Larry Foote every week.
Give me Larry Foote every week. All right. I don't want to split it each way.
Yeah.
Callie Bucs, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Says Evans returning largely depends on him taking a little bit of a discount. I don't know if he will be willing to do that, and why should he?
Yeah. I mean, I hope he comes back. I think Jason Light will give it his best sales pitch. I think Mike Greenberg will. I think Baker Mayfield will. They'll get Chris Godwin involved. I mean, they'll make the pitch. It's going to come down to, does Mike Evans want to finish his career as a Buccaneer? And does he believe that this defense can be fixed within one off season and get this team back to where he thought it was when he signed his original 2-year deal, as this team was coming off of a playoff trouncing of the Eagles, a 9-win season, and they took Detroit to the fourth quarter. And that's when he said, I'll sign it for 2 more years. Then the next year was pretty good. They won 10 games. The offense was really good under Liam Cohen, but the defense slid, and defense wasn't any better last year. So if Mike wants to leave, it's going to be, in my opinion, he doesn't have faith in Todd Bowles or this defense getting Super Bowl caliber ready. And maybe he doesn't necessarily at this stage. Maybe he's like, not that he doesn't want to win, but he's not driven by going to a Super Bowl contender and being a hired gun. I don't know. I don't know what Mike's thinking. I don't know. But what I do know is he did see Tom Brady do that down here, and he was the missing piece of the puzzle in Tampa Bay. Maybe Mike thinks he can be that somewhere else. I don't know where his head's at. We'll find out in a couple weeks.
Mike's never been a guy that's been motivated by money specifically. Right. He's been motivated by greatness and wanting to win championships and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think he's going to play for like the veterans minimum.
Oh, yeah,
if he comes back to Tampa. So that definitely needs to be factored in.
Yeah. I think with Mike and for players like him that are not divas where they're motivated by money, it's more of a respect thing. It's more like, I love Chris Godwin. I do, but I'm better than Chris Godwin right now, and I deserve to be paid more than Chris Godwin.
Sure.
And I think that's totally fine. That's understandable. He's not throwing shade if he thinks that. I don't want to speak for Mike Evans, but I mean, if I'm Mike, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm like, hey, I mean, I'm still the best receiver in Tampa. I'm still one of the best receivers in the game. So don't give me like a chump change deal. Like, I'll give you a little bit of a home discount. Like, I'm not going to go to the Titans just because they have more money and be a mercenary just for a paycheck. But like, I need a respectable amount of money here, and you know what? And let's forget last year even happened, because you and I both know if I was healthy, I'm getting 1,000 yards last year.
Definitely.
Right. I mean, that's what Mike has to be thinking.
Yeah. Like, I don't think Mike's going to like the Browns or the Cardinals and will be paid like a top 5 wide receiver. He'd rather take less and who knows, go to Seattle or like another team that needs him. I am curious with Mike though, when free agency does arrive, and let's say it's not with the Bucs, does he sign with the team like immediately, being like, hey, I am the missing piece, like, let's get this done? Or does he wait around a little bit and be like, oh, this team did this team did that? Obviously, like, you still got to do it in time where teams still have money to pay you. But I'm curious if he'll be fast to sign somewhere, or will he let it kind of play out a little bit And that almost helps the Bucs case a little
It
bit.
does.
Yeah, don't you miss us, Mike?
Yeah.
Anyway,
it does.
we will find out.
Yep.
Alec Bickler, thank you for being a Pewter Report YouTube channel member for 7 months now. That's awesome. We really appreciate it. Says, we are in a peak spot to trade back. We can draft R. Mason Thomas and Anthony Hill Jr., then go Jacob Rodriguez, Golday, Trotter with our first 3 picks, then grab a corner and defensive tackle, Malachi Lawrence, Devin Moore, Jack Kelly for day 3 depth.
I want to like Jack Kelly, but I was at the Senior Bowl and he's not athletic enough. He is kind of a KJ Britt type. Yeah, I think there is. If you can trade down in this draft, whether it's down in the first round or down in the second round, still get your guys, I'm all for it because this team does need bodies. Not every pick is going to be a hit. We like Jason Light's track record. He drafts starters. Needs to draft more stars. I think maybe he has. We'll find out in time if Tykee Smith can ascend to a Pro Bowl level. What I mean by Pro Bowl is not making the flag football team out west. Where was it this year? I didn't even watch.
I think they had it. They had it where the Super Bowl was. So
okay,
it was in San Fran, but not obviously on.
Just ditch the games and just make it like the All Pro, where it's just it's just an award. I mean that makes a lot of sense. And stop going down the list to find people that are playing your stupid flag football game, NFL. I think it's really kind of dumb. What is not dumb is speaking of the draft, we have a mock draft coming out tomorrow at 5:00 on PewterReport.com. I know what I'll be doing tomorrow. I'll be writing that thing up. We've already talked about it, myself and Josh Cable. We have our guys. But before that, there is a show tomorrow at 4:00 here on Pewter Report TV. The most important Bucs in 2026. Cody Mauch's one of them. But hear what Matt and I have to say at 4:00 tomorrow as we dive into some guys that are going to be really, really important. They're going to need some big seasons for this team if they want to get back to the playoffs and back to NFC South title contention to get into the playoffs. Then Josh Capo and I will be on deck for our mock draft show, version number 2, as our mock draft comes out at 5 p.m. tomorrow, Bucs fans, on PewterReport.com. You can check that out for a couple hours before we go live at 7:30. And that show is presented by Jorgensen Law, PA. And we greatly appreciate Jorgensen Law sponsoring that show as well as our mock drafts. But there's Cassius Howe. Is he a first-round pick or a second-round pick by Tampa Bay? You'll find out tomorrow on PewterReport.com, and then join us for that show at 7:30 right here on Pewter Report TV. Also streams live on X and Facebook. So a double dip for the podcast tomorrow. Thursday's show still being debated in terms of the topic. But Friday, Matt and I are going to be talking about Baker Mayfield's future with the Bucs from a salary cap standpoint and a extension standpoint. Are they going to let him play his contract year out, or does he want to play his contract year out? We'll talk about that on Friday. So some still great content lined up for you. The week's only getting started here on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and also make sure you hit notifications, because when I come out with the new Pewter Pulse video, like I'm going to have about 5:15 today, or when we go live with the Pewter Report podcast, you're going to get a notification. So it's real simple. Hit subscribe. It's free. And then all you have to do is hit notifications. That's free too. And then you'll find out whenever we have a video go live. Boom. You'll be notified on your phone. You can check it out on Pewter Report TV.
That's right. A couple more comments before we finish the show. Meets McGee with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Says, excited to see BMO have a full, healthy season, off season. He had his lows, but he showed a lot versus A.J. Brown. Also, besides Max Crosby, who would be your free agent choices?
Good question. Yeah, and also, too, Benjamin Morrison played in 10 games last year. He missed 7 due to injury, but he played in 10 with 3 starts. So I'm encouraged by the fact that he has some good tape on film. You want that as a rookie. You want, you don't have any bad film, but it's going to happen. You're a rookie, but you want to have the good film. You want to have the bad film that you can correct. But then you also want to have those moments where your position coach says, yeah, Ben, look what you did here, man. Look what you did with A.J. Brown. Look at the coverage here. Look at the anticipation. Look at your click and close on this zone drop, right? So you want to have that. And I think there's enough good tape for Benjamin Morrison to look at, to have some confidence going into year 2. Then, of course, there's plenty of stuff to correct too, right? But I guess how to fix the secondary, my final thought on this, Matt, is Todd Bowles has got to condense the playbook.
Yes.
He has got to he's got to go against what he wants to do. What was the Bucs' best game ever called under Todd Bowles? It was the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl 50 right here in Tampa. It was the most streamlined, easiest game plan that Todd Bowles ever put in. We're going to play Tampa 2. We're going to play cover 2. We'll mix in a little bit of man. We'll mix in, a wrinkle here or there coverage-wise. But basically, we're going to have 2 safeties because we don't want Tyreek Hill beating us over the top, and we want to have enough people in the middle of the field to swarm with Travis Kelce. And then we're going to send our front 4 loose. The Bucs hardly blitzed. That was by far the best game that Todd Bowles has ever called. Granted, it certainly helped out that the Chiefs' offensive line was decimated with injuries.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, kiss, baby, kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. Like, you've got young players in the secondary. Reduce your pressure packages. Reduce your coverages. Look at how fast the Seahawks were playing. Mike McDonald doesn't do a whole bunch, right? He's got his plays, but it's not this smorgasbord buffet.
Mm-hmm.
It's a menu that the Seahawks use. And I think Todd Bowles needs to dish the buffet and needs to, have a front and back menu and say, order from this. And I just think that the Bucs will be so much better off by not having the coverage bus. And honestly, I don't think they'll be as predictable because they're going to be able to play faster and not get picked apart and taken care of in zone coverage like they have been.
Yeah, and sometimes restaurants have too big of a menu. It's like there's too much stuff. Like I don't need all of these options. But I was watching a clip the other day from the Raise the Flags documentary.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2020 season when they just lost to Kansas City, and Todd Bowles was like, "But I knew if we played them again, I'd know how I'd run the defense against them." And then Malcolm Harvey says, "I want us to look at Keontae Scott from my Canes, the U. If there's value there, he's a dog who had 2 forced fumbles and 2 pick sixes this season." And says, "Please read my comment. LOL, super chat isn't working for me." So
appreciate
there you
that. Yep. Also, a comment from Hezo. Secondary doesn't matter if the pass rush isn't upgraded. You're right. There's no doubt about that. We kind of talked about that yesterday, so we kind of wanted to do the secondary version of that today. What does the salary cap situation look like? I'll talk about this a little bit in the Fab Five. There's enough to sign some players. This is not like a bonanza for the Bucs in terms of having some cap money. It just isn't. I mean, they have $24 million right now, and the cap's going to go up. I mean, they're going to have some room to make some moves. They have to sign some players for sure. But if you want Mike Evans back, it's going to cost a big chunk of change. And if you want Levante David back, and I've not heard this from anybody, I almost think that the team is a little hopeful that maybe Levante doesn't come back, because then you have to invest $7 or $8 million, maybe more, $10 million or whatever, into an aging linebacker. I don't know at this stage of the game at age 36 if that's the most sound investment. I love Levante, the legend. I do, but I've seen Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, Mike Allstott, Simeon Rice. I've seen the great ones just have to call it a day. Happens to everybody. Father Time is undefeated in the NFL.
It almost seems like the only way Levante would have been back this season is if the team was in a way worse situation and we're essentially trying to tank, and then it's like, all right, well, we got a legacy player here with Levante David. Come out and see Levante David in his last season, whatever the case may be. But, obviously Levante doesn't want to be that type of attraction as well. So we'll see. Still a lot to come this offseason for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So just a reminder again. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to just let everybody know, I went out for a run today, and this is like the warmest day of the year in Florida. I was actually breaking a sweat instead of freezing. And the forecast looks pretty good. Looks like we're in the 70s for quite some time, maybe 80. And that is your key to hit the golf links. And Heritage Isles Golf and Country Club is a place to do it if you're looking for a new challenging golf course located in the new Tampa area, ranked in the top 3 best value courses in the Tampa St. Petersburg area by Golf Advisor. That's pretty good. Give them a call for tee times, 813-907-7447. That's Heritage Isles Golf and Country Club. Tee Times, 813-907-7447.
Remember, we have a doubleheader coming up tomorrow at 4 o'clock. It'll be the most important Bucs in 2026. And then, so that's at 4. And then a little bit later, Josh and Scott are on for their second mock draft. That'll be on at 7:30 with the mock draft article dropping around 5 o'clock. So a twofer tomorrow on the Pewter Report podcast. In the meantime, if you're not already doing so, please make sure you're following us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We're at Pewter Report. And our YouTube channel is PewterReportTV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video what you think about the Bucs secondary. Are you high on it? Are you low on it? What are your thoughts about it? We'd love to see all of your comments. That's going to do it for today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for 2 episodes on another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.